Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. It is Wednesday, February 17th, 2021. I am Andrew Hansen, here once again, believe it or not, with Joe Sarvati, who's affectionately known as Coach. And if you missed our NBA podcast today, Coach called in on the phone because he's still dealing with intermittent power outages in Dallas, and he's going to do the same again here so we can talk some golf. So, Coach, are you there, and do you want to introduce this fine event we have this week?
I would love to. Hello, Andrew. Good afternoon. Again, reporting from this third world country known as Texas, with no water, no power. But you know what? We're doing the damn podcast.
That's right.
Refused to be denied at DFS Coach Talk. So
exactly.
We are here, and we're going to get this done. A good tournament this week. The Genesis Invitational. It's at the famous Riviera Country Club there in beautiful California. Amazing course that opened in 1926. So they're coming upon their 100th anniversary in a couple of years here. And it is set up as a par 71, 73-22. So a fair distance considering it's a par 71. And, you know, as you look back through the history of this tournament, you do have to have some length, but you have to be good on the green. So I know our man Andrew is going to have some great stats for us to look at to try to figure this one out. But it is a really loaded field. A lot of the big guns are back, like DJ and McIlroy. JT's playing. This big D Chambeau is going to be in there. So I am excited to go over this with you, Andrew. And why don't you start us off here with a little bit of statistical analysis?
Sure. So with this somewhat lengthy par 71, you mentioned the historical look. You know, if you look back at previous success here with the rough, it's not extremely lengthy rough or the longest course out there, but it's penal enough that it really does reward folks who can hit at least a majority of the fairways and get it onto these putting surfaces. So strokes gained tee to green has been a good indicator of success recently. And one of the most fascinating things is if you look up the top 20 players in strokes gained tee to green in this current season, 18 of the top 20 are in the field this week. The only guys who, the only guys who aren't there are Bernd Wiesberger and Ryan Moore. And it is loaded with big guns. Some of the best players on tour are ranked the highest in this category. No big surprise, but it is so fun that so many of them are playing this week, and I can't wait to watch it. So, you know, going down this list, I'm gonna go through it. Bryson, Dustin Johnson, Bubba Watson, John Rahm, Xander, your man Will Zalatoris, who's probably happy that he's not in the Dallas area, Keegan Bradley, Patrick Cantley, Joaquin Niemann, Tony Finau, Justin Thomas. Stop me if you know any of these guys are names you haven't heard of, because they're all the top-ranked players in the world. I mean, that's just the top 10. Then we've got, I don't think I've even gotten to Justin Thomas yet, Henley, Morikawa, Rory McIlroy, and then here's a cheap option, Harold Varner III, and then Victor Hovland, Hideki Matsuyama, Matthew Neesmith. So that's the top 20, minus the two guys who aren't there, and they're all on their game, strokes gained tee to green. So here's my big theory for the week, Coach, and tell me if you support it. My goal is to get as many of those guys into my lineups as I can. It's pure and simple. That's what I want.
So you're looking to buy up and then find the value on the backside?
Yeah, well, I mean, some of these guys are priced pretty reasonably. And there's a group on Draftkings that I just am really surprised about and excited about. And check out these guys in the 8K range on DraftKings. Bubba Watson, 8,900. I know you're going to give us some course history here with past success, but he's a three-time winner, and he's 8,900. And then right behind him, Joaquin Niemann, who's 88, Victor Hovland, who's 87. Those are three of the guys I just mentioned in the top 20 in this category. And so you could get guys like that in your lineup, and you feel like you're paying up because they're such big names, but you're really not.
I'll tell you what, that is, and compared to the last tournaments that we've gone through, the last month really, those were the guys that were the highest price type of level players, and now we're getting almost mid-level pricing. It's going to be a really fun tournament to stack up.
Yeah, absolutely. And, just kind of perusing the price tags for the guys in that group, they do include all of those big studs who are the most expensive on the slate with the shortest odds to win the tournament. And so I am going to avoid a lot of those guys, and we can talk about them during the show. But, Bryson, DJ, Rahm, those guys are very expensive. And so why not get the guys right next to them in this category and be able to fill out your roster? A couple of the,
I love it.
Yeah. So, a couple of the higher priced guys in that group that I'm considering, Xander Schauffele, Patrick Cantlay. But I did mention a couple value plays. Again, Harold Varnell III, only 6,700. And the last guy that was in that group, Matthew Neesmith, he's one of their potential value plays this week at 6,900. He just finished tied for 16th at Pebble Beach and stood out in that category, strokes gained tee to green. So I think we can get a pretty good start on our lineups by focusing on this group of 18 guys.
I'll tell you what, it is going to be fun to make that lineup, but I can't wait to hear some of the value plays that you have as well, because that is the key. Last week we did great again. I mean, we've been on a hell of a golf roll here, so knock on wood, man, we keep it going. But, getting those six guys through the cut is such a key, and finding those value plays. And last week, my main builds, I only got 5 of the 6 through and still cashed really well. So can you imagine getting that 6 guy through? So I think we'll be able to not have to go to the bottom of the barrel to fill in that last spot or two, since we're going to get some discount pricing here on some of the big guys.
Yeah, I agree. And so I haven't focused quite as much on the deep value plays because we're getting so many of these really good players in the 8K range. So before I get to a couple of the potential value plays that I haven't mentioned, did you want to go over either some odds or some course history?
Yeah, I'll hit both of those real quick. Let me give you I'm not going to give you a quiz because you've been scorching me there. So I'm just going to go through some odds real quick. The favorites to win this, Dustin Johnson at 5-1, just boom. I mean, talk about respect. Previous champion, top 5 finishes. So I get it, but 5-1 is a little much.
Right.
John Rahm is 11. McIlroy is only 11-1, even though he hasn't won in a while. Schauffele 13, Thomas 13, Cantley 13. Look at these names. D Chambeau 14, Finau 22, and Mr. Koepka is 22. So that's just the top group. That doesn't include some of the big boys below them, including Bubba Watson, like you said, a 3-time winner at 34-1. You got to love that number. My buddy Will Zalatoris, I play every week, 55-1 is definitely going to get a couple coach bucks for sure. Some of the other guys I want to mention real quickly. Adam Scott is the defending champ. He plays really well here. He loves this course. He's another one that could be a decent value play because he's a long shot to win it as well. JT has done well here. Rory also. DeChambeau had a top 10 last year and loves this course as well. Patrick Cantlay is a guy I want to mention. I always like Cantlay, and I watched almost, I don't know how many holes, probably 2 full rounds of his play last week because he was the key guy in my lineup, and I watched on the NBC Sports Gold package. If you guys don't have that, you should get it. It's awesome. They cover like the whole tournament. You can watch everybody play. Great scouting deal. But Cantley was just phenomenal, but he missed a ton of putts. He just, right by the edge, they peek in, wouldn't go in. And if he could have just putted a little bit better, he wins that tournament. So he's dangerous this week. Plus, he went to college 3 or 4 miles there away from Riviera Country Club. So he's played Riviera Country Club a bunch. That's his home turf. And I think he is super, super dangerous.
Yeah, I agree. He really seems to play well in Southern California, and he's in a groove right now. And that reminds me, I've seen a couple references to how there's a lot of overlap between success in the Masters and success on this course. And so it's no surprise that Bubba has won multiple times in both spots. And Cantley is always a factor in the Masters. And
Adam Scott too, same type of scenario.
Exactly. So yeah, he's a guy that I'm considering paying up for. And by the way, wasn't that a fun finish at Pebble Beach with Berger?
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I mean, Cantley was right there, even though he missed all those putts. He was right in that top 5. And Berger, who I think was in your FanDuel lineup, he, what I just really enjoyed was watching him, first of all, hit that clutch 3-wood on 18 and then bury that eagle putt. So what a way to snatch that victory. But then to see the emotion where he's fighting back tears on the green after winning. And I was talking to my wife about it. I mean, this is a guy who's already won multiple times on the PGA Tour, has plenty of money, so he's secure financially. But the win is so emotional for these guys because they just grind so hard, hours and hours, weeks and weeks. And I just thought it was refreshing to see a player like that get that emotional. It wasn't even a major.
I'll tell you what, though, he played so well down the stretch. Like you said, that 3-wood or whatever it was that he hit to give himself an eagle putt on the 72nd hole. I mean, that's just inhuman to be able to hit that shot. It was nuts. And then he drains the putt to win it. So I was going nuts. I couldn't believe how well he finished there. And he's definitely a guy that, I think is going to have a fine season, and I'm going to keep my eye on going forward.
Definitely. And before I forget, you gotta feel a little bit for Nate Lashley, who was right there in contention and had that one scuffle late on the back 9 where he, I think it was he 3-putted and just made a mess of that. Was it 4-putted? Yeah, just made a mess of that hole.
Let me say something about Lashley, though. I watched a lot of that. I think, I hate to call anybody out, but he just was a jerk. I mean, I get you 4-putt and you get mad, but if you watched him before that, he was just ornery. He had he rude to his caddy. He smashed his clubs in there, and that was before the horrific 4-putt that blew him out of the tournament. So not a guy that I'm a fan favorite of, just to say.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. He definitely showed his emotions, but in terms of the golf moving forward, the thing that they kept talking about on the telecast over the weekend was how much of a robot he was with hitting fairways. And if he can just get back to that and get over the disappointment, this is a chance for him. He's only 7,200 on DraftKings. So, if he can keep most of that current form and forget that 4-putt, then he could be a good value.
We will see. I mean, it was sad because him acting like a fool like that, smashing his club down and everything. When I looked up the highlights for the golf tournament, it says right next to each other. It had Berger sinks eagle putt to win, and then it says PGA golfer loses temper. Like, it got big headlines. So not only does he have to deal with the mental aspect of blowing it like that, now he's got this negative press and guys like me bagging on him. So.
Right. That is true. Did you have anything else, or should I continue to the next stat?
The only other guy I wanted to mention, because I think he's pretty good value, is my man Max Houma, who I play all the time. He played terrific this past week, and he had a top 10 finish here at Riviera last week. So just a guy that I've got circled.
Yeah, and he was on my mind when I started doing my research for this week. But the thing that surprised me is in that strokes gained tee to green stat, he's 100th on the PGA Tour this season. I really was surprised about that. And so it's a balance for me between that with the fact that he's been playing much better recently. So he is in the mix for me, but I was surprised about that stat.
That's a concern. That's why you're my go-to PGA guy here. I'm going to have to think about this one now.
A couple other notables. Jordan Spieth is 101st in that stat. So very similar to Houma, bad in terms of the overall ranking for the season, but playing much better recently. Spieth obviously is showing signs of his former self with the way that he's been playing the last couple of weeks. But
that stat doesn't surprise me, though, because I've seen him in stretches where he looks just spraying the ball all over the course.
Exactly.
It looks like he doesn't have any control. So I'm a big fan of his, though. He's a local boy here. I saw him last year in downtown Roanoke here. He lives like probably 15 minutes from me, and he was in there eating Babe's chicken like everybody else. Just a really good guy.
Yeah,
so
no doubt.
Always rooting for him. But man, he definitely has something between the ears there that's not connected.
Right. A couple other guys I want to mention in that stat between 20th and 100th. Koepka is 21st, so he's really trending up. Adam Scott, who you mentioned, is 65th. Carlos Ortiz, I was surprised that he's 69th. I thought he'd be higher in that stat. And then another Texan, Scotty Scheffler, he's 75th. Yep.
That's not very good.
It isn't, and that surprised me. But stay tuned, because let's transition to the other stat that is at the top of my list this week. Par 4 scoring between 450 and 500 yards. We have 6 of them on this course. So
Dustin Johnson, I would assume.
Yeah, Dustin Johnson can handle that. But that's one of the unique features of this layout are these 6 longer par 4s. And part of the reason why it's only a par 71, they only have 3 par 5s this week. So in this category, I'm just going to list some of the guys in the top 20 who are in this event. And the first guy is a potential value. It's James Hahn, who is, guy we've played a fair amount recently. He's only 7,500 on DraftKings. He's number 6 in this stat, highest ranked guy on that leaderboard who's playing this week. And he did finish 10th in Phoenix a couple weeks ago, missed the cut at Pebble last week, but he's a 2015 champion in this event.
Right.
Continuing down this list, we have Henley, who I already mentioned on the other list, Bryson, top 10 in both stats, Scotty Scheffler. He handles these long par 4s well, so that's where I think he gets back into the mix. Henrik Norlander, another potential value play. He's 12th in that stat. He's only 7,400.
He's playing good golf.
Yes, exactly.
He really is.
3 straight finishes in the top 26, I believe. So
nice.
You like that. Justin Thomas can handle the long par 4s. Russell Knox, who was on our clipboard last week, played well at Pebble. Sam Burns, Charles Howell III. Now, this one's interesting. He is the 2007 champion of this event. He's only 6,800, but he has missed his last 2 cuts. So not...
I'm shocked he's that high on that stat because he's not a super long hitter
right
anymore.
No,
that's pretty impressive.
Just steady enough. And then 2 more names on this list. Brendan Steele, who is 7,100 this week on DraftKings, and then Siwoo Kim, who also won earlier this season but missed the cut last week. He's 7,700. So there are a few mid-tier guys on this list who I think get a bit of a bump and could help you balance out a lineup.
Very nice.
All right, Coach. Any other areas of interest that you want to hit on before we wrap up this week?
No, I think that's good. I mean, the bottom line is, the bill and, figuring out if you're going to stick with that mid-level or if you're going to buy up for one of the big dogs. I mean, to me, it's, do you pay for Dustin Johnson or John Rahm, or, do you try to get more of an even build, which there's a lot of good players in that mid-range, and then hopefully just shuffle in a couple of these slight value plays without having to go to the bottom of the barrel. I think that's probably the winning formula. I think, it's going to take probably 2 or 3 minimum of the guys, of those 20 or 25 that you mentioned early on, and then just filtering in the rest and making sure we get everybody through the cut. But I look forward to the tournament. It's going to be better weather than it was last week at Pebble, so it'll be a little bit more fun to watch. And they can score well here. They've hosted a few U.S. Opens, and they let the rough grow out. It's pretty brutal, but not for this tournament. It'll be fair. You can spray it a little bit and get away with it, and it's a gorgeous course. Can't wait to watch.
Yeah, I've got a couple other thoughts here. One of them is that I do think it's very important to watch here because we've got all the top guys really starting to get into that final groove and get everything ironed out before the Masters. And, we got to mention Bryson D Chambeau really quickly because he's so high up in these stats, but he's only played once on American soil since the Masters. And he's been, tinkering with his game. And so we just don't know exactly where he's at. So he's one of the guys that I'm going to lay off of this week and just see, what form he's in. But I'm really excited about this opportunity to watch all these guys very closely and, start to get ready for the Masters. And, in terms of my strategy, I want to get your feedback on this. I am thinking about playing, a little bit more of a mix of cash games this week, which in golf, I usually don't do as much. I usually do that more in basketball and football. But I feel a little bit better about picking 6 guys who I feel really good about making the cut this week as opposed to, some other weeks. And so that's where I think I might focus a little bit more on my action this week.
I don't blame you. And I'll tell you, if you're going to play a little more cash, like I play mostly cash, really in golf, Draftkings is just the king. I mean, they're the best. You can get in some great cash games on Draftkings, whereas with Fanduel, it's a little more limited, and certainly on Yahoo, it's even much more limited than that. But if you're feeling good about getting 6 guys through, and you're wanting to pump up the cash play, I would recommend Draftkings. Excellent.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. And for those who are a little bit newer to our program and what we do, we have a heavy focus on cash games, slowly building the bankroll. And so every slate we give out cash lineups. And in golf, we do the same on FanDuel. We give out the cash lineup for the full tournament here on Wednesday. So jump in with us tonight if you'd like. If you want to join, go to dfscoachtalk.com, pick up one of our memberships, and they all cover all the sports. So if your focus is golf, you're going to get the golf lineup, but you also get our NBA lineups every night for every slate. So it's a terrific package. And then in addition to the GP or the cash lineup, we also give the full GPP lineup on FanDuel, and then the coach's clipboard on DraftKings, which is designed for cash contests and GPPs. We give out some core plays there and a bunch of pivots. So any final thoughts there, Coach?
Yeah, if you're watching this on YouTube, please take a second, hit the thumbs up, hit a little alarm button in the corner that alerts you whenever one of our podcasts posts, and then certainly subscribe to our YouTube channel. We really, really appreciate that, and we're just looking to crush it here. We're excited. I just got to get power back so I can watch all this golf, man, and basketball. We're ready to go.
That's right, we are. So if you missed the NBA podcast, make sure to check that out. And we do appreciate all of your support. So please do join us again tomorrow as we continue our 7-day-a-week coverage of the NBA. And of course, we'll be back next week with more PGA. So on behalf of the coach and the rest of the DFS Coach Talk team, I'm Andrew Hansen. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time as we look to crush it in DFS.